We're going to talk about money. I don't know much about money. To me, they're rather poorly designed engravings of dead white guys that you can exchange for milk or bread or a new car or something like that. You can, but they're just things that makes it easier to get your new car or your bread or your milk or your Cheerios or whatever you're buying, or your fountain pens. Now, if I were an artist, well, I am an artist and calligrapher, and if I were poor, which I am so far, you don't have to use I don't have to use my imagination. Maybe you do, but I don't. Let's say I have $1,000 to spend at a pen show. I could, I'm not suggesting that that's how much this pen is going to be, but I will just show you. I'll use this as an example. I could buy this pen for the $1,000, and this pen wouldn't be anywhere near $1,000 unless it had someone famous owned it and maybe had the best nib in the world on it. But this pen could be conceivably $500 or $300 anyway. But let's just pretend it's $1,000. Yes, I can buy a really nice pen for $1,000 that I probably would be afraid of using because I spent so much money on it. And as pretty as it is, maybe I'd dip it in ink and maybe sign my will. To my granddaughter, I leave my Schaefer abalone flecked pen, my most prized possession. Okay, she says. Thanks a lot, Gramps. By the way, if any of you need to bequeath some pens to your greedy children, just send them to me. So anyway, yes, back to the story. This pen could be $1,000, let's say. But instead, you could buy maybe this pen, which is a little smaller and a little less pretty in terms of the patterning on it. Same Schaefer company. Maybe the nib won't be quite as nice as this, but maybe the nib will be better than this one, because the nibs are not determined by what the pen looks like. It's like a book with a cover. The cover of the pen does not mean anything when it comes to the nib. So let's say I'm able to buy, instead of buying this, I'm able to buy these 3 pens. Now, why would I want 3 rather than 1? I only have one hand I write with, but these 3 pens may have completely different nibs on them. And if you're an artist like I am, or a calligrapher, or whatever, an accountant, you might want 3 different pens. One to do your very fine, editing. One to do your big swaggy signature at the bottom of your novel. Or if you're a movie star, you want a big moppy signature pen, for your 8x10 glossies. You would buy a pen because of the nib it has. It's almost like buying clothes. You don't wear the same, well, I do. Yes, I change my socks and underwear, but I wear, these days, I tend to wear the same outfit. Yes, I do wash them. I have 2 outfits that are more or less identical, and I wash them in between wearings. But, one could imagine, here's your frumpy sweater, here's your winter coat, here's your summer t-shirt. You know, there's reasons why you have 3 articles of clothing. There's reasons why you'd have 3 pens. But at a pen show, you can also, with that same $1,000, buy a bunch more. You can say, okay, I'm going to buy, you know, this pen that's missing a clip. You know, I'm going to buy a bunch of pens. You know, oftentimes people specifically go to junk drawers. I go to junk drawers, junk boxes, and I'm looking for nibs. Yeah, this pen has teeth marks. Yes, this pen is missing a clip. Yes, this pen has a name on the side of it. Yes, this has the wrong cap and barrel. I don't care. I'm buying it for the nib. So I'm able to buy, rather than 1 pen or 3 pens, I might be able to buy 10 pens or 20 pens. It all depends on what, you know, how low I can go, how lucky I am, how much money I feel I can spend on something. There is, you know, something to be said for buying the fancy pen. Maybe this one will make you happier using it if you are mesmerized by the pretty colors and you're not mesmerized by the slip-on clip. You know, I can imagine someone writing a sonnet about the beauty of this. It's hard to imagine. Maybe a limerick. There once was a clipless cap from Bavaria who blah 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 area blah 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 area. So yes, you could write a limerick, usually a dirty limerick about a pen like this. Here you'd write a sonnet about this one. So by using a pen that you could write a sonnet about may give you some pleasure. But I think you're more like me. It's more the nib that's doing it. Sometimes, though, because of some need, more of a physical need from your point of view, you might really, really, really need a bigger pen. Bigger pens are more expensive than smaller pens. 9 times out of 10. If you get a pen that's really, really tiny and very rare, maybe that'll be more expensive than the big pen, but normally a pen like this is more than a pen like that. And sometimes you need to have a big pen. There was a pen collector, or pen user, pen aficionado. God, I hate that. Aficionado. What the hell does that even mean? A pen user who he was a football player, kind of a guy. He might have been a football player for all I know. But he was humongatoid. You know, here's a normal person. Well, now normal people look like this. But he was like this, you know, arm, you know, he had more muscles in his little finger than I have in my entire body. And his hands were huge hands. Huge. They were huge. No one has huger hands than this guy. This guy had huge hands. And for him, he needed a big pen. He needed a pen bigger than this. Well, this is about as big. Well, it's not almost as big. This is pretty darn big. And yes, they made a 58, which was bigger, and they made a 20, which was bigger than this one. Fatter and longer, but mainly fatter. It's not so much longer, it's fatter. And this guy was looking at pens that were owned by a pen collector that has fancier pens than I do, and he picked up a pen like this. And the guy said, well, that's $2,000. And this guy with the big hands also thought $200 was too much for a pen, and I think he was willing to spend more than $20, but he didn't understand why it had to be $2,000. And he said, well, I'm just using it to write with. Well, that doesn't work. You know, when I go to a grocery store and I'm buying milk, I don't tell the cashier, you know, that I'm not going to use this milk in a souffle. I'm just going to pour it on top of Captain Crunch. I should pay less for it because I'm not doing anything fancy with it. Well, that doesn't work. It's still worth $2,000, that big pen he had. But anyway, I digress. That's what I do here. I digress. Another way to spend that $1,000. Now, I'm not recommending this way, but if I had to, I would. And I'm just going to show you this. I recently bought this sort of under it was what do you call it? I bought this even though I didn't want it, but I bought it from someone who really wanted me to take it off his hands, and I did. I was on my way to trade my cow for some magic beans, and this guy came up with this, so I bought this from him. These are this is a set of K&E Leroy lettering pens, or technical pens used by architects and designers, or used to before they have. Now they do everything with CAD. But anyway, this set probably when it was new would be, you know, $200 at least, back in 1970 something or rather. They still probably make them and sell them, but I pity the poor person that has to use it. But this pen came with, maybe it came with 3 different barrels. But when I bought it from this guy, it only had one. And you would take the size nib you wanted. If you wanted to write with this size nib, you would take this out and put this in the barrel, and you'd write with it. And then when you were done, you'd put it back. And you'd get the other narrow or thinner. Oh, what the hell is wrong with this one? Oh, nothing's wrong with it. That's what it's supposed to look like. Isn't it? Or did I break it? Anyway. You would pick the different nib and you'd put it on there, and you know, it's sort of, in a way, it's kind of like a Swiss Army knife. You know, you can take any one blade out of it and use it. You can't use all the blades at once. Maybe you could use 2, one at each end, but you have to put one away and take one out. So if I had $1,000, let's say I woke up tomorrow and I was a Zen Buddhist, and I looked at all of my thousands of pens and say, I don't need thousands of pens, but I'm an artist and I need some pens, but I don't need all this stuff. Well, I can only use this hand. I can't use both. I can use one of them at a time. So what I could do, I could borrow from this thing. I could go to those junk drawers, and often you can find in a junk drawer a bunch of pens that look like this. There you go. How much are all these? And they give you a price for all of these. Now what's missing on these? Yeah, you're missing a cap. But let's say I buy all of these. So now I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 pens. Instead of 8 complete pens, I have 8 pens and a cap. So I'm going to take this one outside. And then the next day, I really want to write with a different kind of a nib. So let me put this one in here. This doesn't belong. That's not the right kind. Sorry. But you'd buy you'd buy the pens that would all work with this cap. Sorry, that I shouldn't have had that one. All of these, yes, all of these belong with this cap. So now that's a way of getting lots of different nibs. If you were an artist or a calligrapher, this is exactly what you want. You don't care about, they don't have to be complete. So anyway, I'm trying to have you spend, I'm not trying to make you spend money with me, but I just want you to think about the idea of quantity over quality sometimes works really well. Having 10 pens with 10 different kinds of nibs might be better than having one pen with really a great nib. Because even that great nib is only going to do probably 90% of what you want. How do I make a percent sign? 90%. Still not going to have something's going to be missing from that. But for that same $1,000, you could buy 10 nibs, and maybe each of these nibs will have 80% of what you want. They're not, but one will be really, really fine, and one will be really, really broad. And already, with just 2 pens, you do more than what this one might do. Because this one might not go to really, really fine. So I think if you're a pen user, especially an artist or a calligrapher would understand this a lot. And an artist would understand this a lot, maybe not with pens, but they would with brushes. Think about your favorite realist painter. They need one sort of brush for the clouds and think of Bob Ross at Hack. He would have his fan brush do his little magic tricks, they're different brushes are needed for different effects you want. Different pens are needed as well. So I think that buying 10 pens rather than one pen is good, and you can do that with the same amount of money. Almost regardless of how much money you have. If you have $50 to spend, you might be able to buy one really nice pen for $50, or maybe 3. Yeah, I don't know. $50. It's hard to get any gold nibbed pen for less than $50 unless you're lucky. Anyone that knows a gold nib wouldn't probably sell it for less than $50. I'm thinking suddenly how you could just buy a bunch of different nibs and put them in and out of pens, but there you risk damaging the nibs if you keep yanking them out. You don't want to do that. You sort of want to keep them together. This is really a nice pen. Was I using this one earlier? This is a pen that it's really sturdy. It makes me want to draw angrily again. This one does not make me want to draw. This one, even though it almost looks alike, this one has a thinner nib, makes me want to draw a different way, draw different things. So already I need both of these pens, both of them I need. There was someone in front of me in the grocery store who was buying something, and no, it was I don't know where it was, but she was telling her friend that she needed to get both of these things, whatever they were. The friend was saying, "Well, can't you just buy one?" "No, I need both of them. Both of them. Both of them. Need both of them." Well, I need both of these. Both of these. Need both of these. Both of them and both of these. You buy both of them. I'm gonna buy both of these. So, note to self. Note to you. Yes, you can buy $1,000 pen, but with that $1,000, you can buy 3 pretty nice pens, or 10 pens that are modest and maybe slightly worn out, but all have great nibs. Buy the nibs. I'm like the guy with plastics in the movie The Graduate. Just one word for you: plastics. Well, nibs. That's the word I have for you. Nibs. Thank you.